Welcome back. We are going to be presented by Nilesh, who will be talking to us about Vaulto and personalizing Vaulto deployments. As you may recall, Nilesh was a Google Summer of Code student in 2018 and the creator of the Create Vaulto app tool for Vaulto, which many of us have been using, and especially this past weekend, a lot of people were learning how to use. And so Nilesh is from New Delhi, and he's joining us late in the evening for him. He's a front-end developer consultant at Oda Web, which is a super powerhouse in the Vaulto world and the Plone world in general. And so with that, I'm looking forward to hearing more from Nilesh.
Right. Hi there. So it's my second talk for this year. Let's start. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Yep. So let's first move this thing little and okay. Yeah. I don't know why it's not clicking. Yeah. So let's start the talk. So my last talk was on bundle splitting in Vaulto. So I talked about how do we use Webpack and the loadable component library to split bundles. And so this talk will be more of about how we progress into customization of Vaulto, how we make Vaulto an completely extendable object. So yeah, so as the title suggests, the journey towards the personalization. And yeah, so we can continue. So coming back to from the progress we have taken since 2018 to this year. So if we see that in 2018, it all started as far as I am involved with the community. I remember it started with the creating the Pasanaga design by Albert Casado. So then he give us the design in the Zeppelin, and all the development started. And then it was named as Plone React, like as far as I remember, and then we just changed the name to Vaulto. So the Plone React has been very when it was in very beta stage, then we used that name, and after that we uh, changed that name to Vaulto. Then we have also we need the scaffolding tool very badly, because users can't they can't just have that cloning that Vaulto thing, and they can really start with it. So we want that users to create on their own project from scratch. Then we as a Google Summer of Code student, we build this Create Vaulto app. So actually I had been the Google Summer of Code student, and together with Victor we built this nice package, Create Vaulto app. So I think it's deprecated, it will deprecate in the favor of the Yo generator, which is the decision we have taken, because Yo generator, we have the community is very good, and they also prefer some very nice CLI options. So I think yeah, it's very good to move to a software with a very good community. So coming back to 2019, if we see that there are some we have enhanced the Vaulto editor, which is made in GraphJS, and the concept of tiles. We have tried to extend this so that a user can create their own tiles. Yeah, coming back to tiles, we are now using it as blocks. So we have uh, migrated that tiles to blocks, just the name we have changed, because blocks define more clearly and more generic what we want, and it's just I'll be talking about later what generally a block is. So coming back to 2020, this year, I would say that this year is the major year for Vaulto add-ons, because we have made a tremendous amount of configuration in the add-ons area. So we have extended the concept of blocks to behave it as an add-on. Thanks to Tiberiu, who has created the whole add-on architecture. And we had listing blocks, the layout block. We have so now we use add-on blocks, the widgets, like everything in the form of add-ons only. We have the DX editor, layout editor, which Alan wrote that, and the the Yo generator, which I was talking like the replacement of Create Volto app. So in the next year will be, I think, like I didn't know, like we don't have, I think, maybe the clear roadmap, but yeah, something which taken from the talk, which Victor has mentioned, like we'll be having the Volto as default front end, and in the Plon 6, and the also the blocks transform, so we can have an API that will convert a block from one form to another form. So let's hope for the best. Yeah. So coming back to the Pastanaga UI, so it's created when we started. I think it's created in 2018 or like 17 end. So by Albert Casado, when I saw the designs in the Zeppelin, so it's a design system for Volto components, and which is it's designed on the top of Semantic UI theme. So the theming engine we use is the Semantic UI, and one can create any theme based on this Semantic UI, and the Pastanaga is just one theme. So there is a process. How do we like create the theme on it? So there is a like the config.js file, and we override it with the like the components we have. So like if you want to override a modal, then like we just change that that modal component by using the different theme. So the theme can be like configurable. Yeah. Yeah, one can also create the theme like following this URL. It's a very easy process to create a theme. So one can easily create the theme right now. Yep. So this is how like current designs in Volto looks. So yeah, in the talk, Victor gave us the new insights about how Albert designed the new Volto designs. I'm pretty much excited to see them. So, but right now these designs, I think right now we use these. These are also designed by Albert, and these are pretty much awesome. We use this in Volto right now. Okay, the scaffolding tool. So as I mentioned, that Create Volto app is a tool which scaffolds a Volto project with a single command. So it's now like creating in the favor of the Yo generator. So I think we have been knowing this in the trainings we had. So the Yo generator generates a Volto project using the Yoman tool and complete a CLI solution to configure your project from scratch. It also offers, because it's more than it's more of thing which is configurable. So we can add add-ons using the add-ons flag, and we can pass the no interactive flag if you don't want like questions to be asked in the start. And yeah, we can pretty much configure it. So okay. Okay, so back in 2018, when we started in like Volto was behaving as a like customizable object is on the very start. So we just follow this component shadowing approach. So what we do is we generally like allow users to override the components and create their own Volto sites. So to override a component, we have to match a folder structure. There is a like folder structure which a user have to match, and that folder structure lives in the customizations folder. So let's say if we like want to override a logo. So yeah, so in the customizations path, we have these components. And if we want to override a logo, we'll locate that logo component in the Volto core. And that will copy the logo component and the things we want to change, and we'll put it there and restart the Volto, the dev server. So we'll see that the logo component or any other logo component is just a simple component, and we can just override as much as anything as any component from that. So if we see this Volto component, Volto logo is now replaced by the Pastanaga SVG. So this is how generally the overriding a component shadowing works. So just we follow the like I mean we just follow the path and we override, and the thing take effect. So this is how it works. And let's say we have these add-ons. So what is an add-on is, so the modern technique is the component shadowing, but we want Volto to behave more of like a highly customizable object. So we want these blocks, the widgets, and all things should be pluggable, and they can be like a user can work like interactively and on isolate I mean the isolated from each other. So they have this add-on feature, and I mean they can be easily plugged into the Volto site and they can use it. So this is how an add-on works. I'll show you how to configure these add-ons and like how to deal with this. So we have blocks. So as you all know, like blocks are the building blocks of building components of a website. So anything which we see any website and any of the web pages we see, they are most of these are composed from blocks only. So an editor can compose a single page using a Volto editor in the form of blocks, and these blocks can be customizable and pluggable in the form of add-ons. So I'll show you how we like override and plug blocks from any project into a Volto. So how we like develop with blocks. So we do have edit, and every block has two components, edit and view components, which are basically vice quick type. See, so what user can see is what user can get. So it's basically there's not much difference between how edit and blue edit and view components that there's no difference between them. So it much look as basically the same. A couple of blocks demo, we have a listing block. So what it just creates the like the content object and show us like what content objects are available. So we can navigate through them, we can rearrange them and from the sidebar itself. We have the TOC block, the table of contents, and the columns block. So it's developed by the web. And the column block has, like, as you can see from here, it's allow us to create different grids based on the column sizes. So it's currently it's 30-70 size, and it may be like we can have 50-50 size, and we can also have the whole width size. So it's configurable. So yeah, and we configure it. Next, so this is the main, like, how do we create a new block based on the add-ons configuration? How do we override it? So create a new block by overriding the configurations in the project config. So let's hop on to that. So we do have a like add-ons config in the config. So in the every add-on should have an index.js file in which the configs, they are coming from the clone Volto core. So on the Volto core, this configuration we generally override it. So config.blocks.block config, and here we can add the add-on name, and we can provide the title. So this is a blocks. This is for mainly for block, and every block has an edit and view component, and we can like group them into a media accordion in the side in the block chooser. So we can also, if any component, any block needs some fixtures, right? If it needs some let's say some fixtures, some sample data, we can also add them through the canvas through the config settings, which we have in the bottom config settings demo in the so we can override. This is also an overriding, so we override it and add the demo block. So this is how we create a new block, and when we save it, we do have a new block created on the block chooser. So there will be a new block. Let's say if it's a demo block, and if I show you how like it works is, we have a new like a component, and if we click on the new block in the media, it's created demo block. So hey, we have just registered a new block, so it's a new custom block we have, and this is how we generally add and edit a new block. So it can be anything. So it's just a text now, but it can be very like a complex thing, like a table, from table to a hero block, or maybe the max block. So it could be anything here. So let's on that, this is how we create a block, and this is for the blocks, how we like configure it and like move on to creating much complex blocks within no time. Let's move on to the Slate editor. So right now, Volto uses the Draft.js editor, but it has, I think, some internal limitations that for the plugins we use, we need to use some external libraries for it, or write our own plugins to maybe, let's say, if we want to serialize the data, then we need to use third-party plugins for it. And but in the Slate, we do have the inbuilt plugins to serialize and deserialize data. So it's so we I think we also, I think on the talks also, I think we plan to use Slate in Volto core. So let's hope if it's inculcated. It's initially like developed by the Other Web or the Other Web team, and it's also the customizable. So I'll show you how we customize the inline toolbar buttons, and also add the inline toolbar buttons, and we can play with it. Okay, and yeah, there's one similarity between Draft, I think, and the Slate. They also work, like they both have the internal state, so they work like they both works for creating the rich text content. But I think yeah, the plugin ecosystem is, I think, the difference. So let's see how we use Slate editor. So we have a custom inline toolbar buttons in the Slate. So this is how we this also, I think, we have in Draft.js. So we inculcate a new toolbar button into our Slate toolbar. So we have this make inline element, and it accepts some options. These options is nothing but they include the title and the toolbar button icon and the element type, which can be inline, and so this just an object. It returns a new function which takes the initial configuration and returns the new configuration of like the settings. So also we pull the Slate from the config settings and we add this toolbar button. So show how we how we see. So this is how these buttons will look. Let me show you this one button I actually have created. Let me go to, yep. Okay, if we type something here, let's say, yeah. So if we go to the, and if we see that there is I just created this button with a smiley tag. So I mean, it's just a way to customize and add our own like inline buttons with these Slate, so we can like do it pretty much easy way. So just a very less amount of code we have to write, and we can override a demo button with it. So it's just awesome, actually. So let's go back to presentation. So this is how we add a button, add a any button from the inline toolbar. Also, yeah. So the another thing is we can also have a custom widget. So we can also instead of blocks, instead of widgets, I mean, instead of the buttons, we can also have a widget. So this is how we so we do have widgets type. So it takes a widget type, and any widget we created, it should be go into a like not exactly in the type, but we also have if we don't have a generic type, let's say type boolean or anything, type can be anything. So we can use a widget field there. So instead, in the widget field, we can like possibly like add the name of the widget, and we can use it's in the schema. So in the schema, we do have this schema we use with the inline form. So if we see that it accepts a widget title, and this widget type should be this is that widget we are going to use in the widgets. So also it accepts a schema. So if we want that widget to like have some particular schema, so we can basically add it. So if I show you how we use widgets, we do have, let's delete this. We do have, let's say we have accordion block, and if we like put something here, let's say panel 1 and panel 2. We do have these widgets. And how these widgets come is, first we registered a widget on the accordion. This is how we like registered a widget, config widget type panels. And so when we registered a widget, then we use this panel widget here, just an example. And then we use it in the schema. So in the schema, if we see that the widget type is panel, if you see this, so this field is going to use this particular widget which we have registered, and that schema will be going inside the accordion schema, and we will gonna use it in the inline form. So whenever we see that, then we can show this thing through this widget only. So it also like changes if you click on this, but it's not clickable actually. Okay, yeah. So this is how I think we on widgets, okay, overriding the widgets configuration. And I think, yeah, so like it's like a short talk about how do we like how customize things, how we create components, the override components. So how we extend Volto to like from the like from blocks to widgets in the form of add-ons. So I think, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nilesh. That was a good look at how to make custom blocks, custom widgets. Someone like me who's not a great coder always loves to build on top of other people's work. So it's great to see how easy it is now to make these customizations. I would encourage everyone who has questions for Nilesh to join him in the face-to-face, which by now I hope you know is the blue button below the video. And I'm just checking to see if we have any questions. It doesn't look like we have any questions in the Slido, but thank you again, Nilesh, and please join him in the face-to-face.
Yeah, it's